right, hello everyone. Welcome to Noonie TV. Every Friday, as you may know, is the weekly Golden Vendor review. Sorry about last week. Like I said, there's a lot of things going on this week. We have some content, new things, excitement going around. I can't wait for more things this week to show to everyone, especially ESO educational purposes that I think will help newbies and even experienced players. But with that being said, let's enjoy our Friday and take a look at the Golden Vendor review. Still waiting and hoping that some prize gem comes out of nowhere. Maybe some Kimras, maybe some Pillar of Nerds. Give me something good, vendor. Come on, give me something good. But let's hurry because man, looks like a storm of people coming in like a stampede. We better hurry. Is there a Black Save Friday coming or something? Oof. We made it, guys. Alright, let's look. Alright. First comes is Bloodthorn Ring. So there are changes every week. One week is jewelry necklace. The next week they rotate to jewelry rings. First up is Bloodthorn Ring. Where does Bloodthorn Ring come from? It comes from the Overland of Glenumbra. Okay, and that is a basic Overland. Let's take a look at what it does. When you deal direct damage, you restore 800 magicka and stamina. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds. Alright, 800 magic and stamina is not a lot of resources. And with a 5-second cooldown, I mean, if there was no cooldown, I say sure. But just having that with so little magicka. Then we'll look, when you first look at it, you like, alright, maybe this is a support. But this set is just all over the place. 129 weapon and spell, 1096 magicka, 129 magicka recovery. Problem with this set is just really all over the place, and trying to mix and match balances with damages is just gonna be very hard to do. And with a little bit of magicka, not really worth it especially in this era of Elder Scroll. I say if you want to try it, maybe you can make it work. Anything's possible in Elder Scroll. Go to Overland. You can find it very cheap. You can farm it pretty easily. Not worth buying in the Golden Vendor. Save your AP. Next up is Bone Pirate Rings or Bone Pirate Tatters. Alright. That comes from Blackheart Haven Dungeon. Okay. While you have a drink buff active, your max stamina is increased by 2000 and stamina recovered by 133. Wow. I can remember the memories years ago. This set used to be meta for PvP. Some people also used it for PvE as well. They nerfed it years ago. Now it's okay, but it's just a pure resource set. Technically meant for stamina DPS. Is it worth buying? In all honesty, I'm not really sure how well it's gonna do. It might be kind of lackluster, but possibly potential to make something out of it. I would say save your AP and just go and farm it in the dungeon. It's not a very hard dungeon. You can do it on normal. It's just not, I wouldn't recommend buying it in the guild traders. Correction, I mean Golden Vendor. Next up is Plague Doctor's Ring. Now people are probably gonna hate me on this one, but I have a different feeling about this one. Alright, so this is a tank set, usually great for beginners. When you look at the sources, it's just pure maximum health sources. This comes from the Overland of the Sean, or Morhone, some may call it. It is an overland, very easy to farm, super cheap in the guild traders. The only reason I would say get it in the Golden Vendor is if maybe you want to save your mats and make it in gold, and not make it in gold and just buy it off. But in all honesty, it's so cheap. I mean, unless you have super AP, I would just not probably buy it. However, I will say this: it is a selfish tank set. You see all resources, it may sound like niche and not that good, but it's actually good for a beginner. As a matter of fact, secret, there are people in trials who still use this. It's pretty selfish, doesn't offer much to the group, just it's really just a set to keep you alive. And sometimes you're going to be in situations where all it takes for the win is to keep you alive. There's much more better sets out there, and with everyone's trying to get some buffs and damage and that extra oomph to triumph and vet dungeons or trials, I say you can probably just save your AP unless you have a ton of it. and go and get it in the overland. It's just super cheap. Next one is Storm Masters. Ooh, I guess maybe they do have a goodie. Finally. And I will talk about this a little bit. So let's see. This one I can easily tell you comes from Templess Island. How do I know? Because if any of you guys ever do a random queue every day, that's the first thing that pops up most of the time. Why? Because it's the heavy attack meta. Fifth piece. When you deal critical damage with a fully charged heavy attack. Your light and heavy attack deal an additional 1542 damage for 20 seconds. This in fact can occur once every 10 seconds. Well, 10-second cooldown, but remember, if it lasts for 20 seconds, so technically you're not really going to feel that cooldown. The damage is more than the 10-second cooldown. With that being said, it is in gold. Is it worth getting? I would say absolutely. And I actually was a little bit biased about heavy attack builds until I tested it out myself. Future builds, you will see heavy attack builds in our YouTube channel. So with that being said, the heavy attack builds, if you do the heavy attack build properly with the one bar with the Oaken Saw and you put heavy attack sets such as Storm Masters, it works really good damage. I would say it's a great beginner set, but I can see experienced players trying it because it's just fun. Is it worth getting? Absolutely. The dungeon is very easy to get, but simply you want to gold it out to its maximum. So yes, definitely use your AP and get it if you don't have it golded out yet. Next up is Stone Husk Armcops. Stone Husk comes from Stone Garden, the Stone Thorn DLC. With that being said, remember, monster 2-piece sets. Heads come in dungeons, vet dungeons. When you complete it at the very end, you get a monster helm. Shoulders, you need keys. Every week you go to a merchant, gives you a pledge. You complete that pledge, hand in the pledge, and he gives you keys. Those keys are simply to get the shoulders that you want. Sometimes it's just better off getting it in the golden vendor. For the reason being is you can get the shoulder that you want, never have it to worry about it again. Sometimes with keys is a lottery. Sometimes, let's say for example, you need a medium shoulder, and sometimes you get the keys and you may get the shoulder, but it might not be medium and just be pure lights and heavies, and you wasted 100 keys. Sometimes you may just waste 2. You just never know. I know horror stars for people. I know myself, I wasted 80 keys before I ended up getting a piece. Some people take them 5 keys. Alright, so it comes from Stone Garden, a harder DLC dungeon. If you don't want to pug it and not take the chance and save the energy and time consumption, then get it. But as far as what it does, it's like a support set. Heavy attacks tether you enemies 5 seconds as long as you remain within 12 meters of them. Enemies touching the teeter take 248 physical damage every 1 second. When you do the calculation and math with this 248 physical damage, it's very lackluster. I guess for support it's okay, it gives something. This is a set that I will probably just keep in my bank and coffin because I believe it has potential for the future. Maybe they'll buff it more. In the meantime, I would say save your AP, unless, like I said, if you don't have a group and you really don't want to pug it because you're having a hard time pugging it, then if you have the AP, sure, buy it. But for an experienced player, I would say just don't waste the AP. And then finally we have Swarm Mother's Shoulders. This one I believe comes from Spindle Clutch. Is it Spindle Clutch 1 or Spindle Clutch 2? Oh, here we go. Yes, Spindle Clutch 1. Always get that one confused, 1 and 2. Alright. That being said, when you block an enemy that is between 8 and 22 meters from you, you spin strands of spider silk to pull the enemy to you. This effect can occur once every 1 second. The cooldown is great. It's not really, I could say it's probably not even a cooldown. I mean, 1 second is nothing. That is absolutely great. I wish other cooldowns were as good as 1 second. But with that being said, what is this shoulder used for? Well, this monster says used more for tanks. For example, something like a DK that has ton of buffs and tethers and pulls probably wouldn't be beneficial because they don't need it. It would just be an extra waste of monster set. A lot of people might call it Nietzsche. Not a bad set. It's actually a pretty decent set. I wouldn't say great because there's so many other sets out there now that people use, especially now we're in a meta where everyone wants some type of synergy or some type of extra buff or damage to go victorious in trials or in dungeons. People kind of might stay a little bit away from this. But for example, someone like a Nightblade, for example, they might have problems tether pulling. Nightblade's great for tanking selfishly. They can keep themselves alive pretty much instantly, but they're not good with pulling ads and trash ads. So this could be a set that they can maybe use situational certain situations. It is niche. Is it worth getting? Um, I say that you can easily get it. This is Spindle Clutch is not a hard dungeon. Um, Save your keys. Try it with the keys. If you got some extra AP around, sure get it. But if you don't have much AP, then don't get it. It's okay at best. Worth trying out. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. So that's all today for the Golden Vendor. So at least we got one thing going. It was okay, but at least we got the Storm Masters. You know, that is a gold item to definitely buy. With that being said, guys, till next time, stay tuned for future content. I'm excited this week, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Yeah.